We're one step closer to the XFL officially kicking off next year, and they made a big announcement today regarding their head coaching hires. The XFL, Danny Garcia, Dwayne The Rock Johnson announced today on Get Up on ESPN that they have hired their 8 head coaches for their league, and they are as follows. Former NFL coaches Wade Phillips and Jim Haslett will be joining the fray as XFL head coaches, as well as longtime and historic Oklahoma Sooners head coach Bob Stoops is getting back in the saddle, and he's going to be a head coach in the XFL. We also have some other former players who were hired as head coaches that you might recognize that are going to be very interesting to keep an eye on. You have Anthony Betch, Reggie Barlow, Terry Buckley, but then the two ones that I know a lot of people are going to recognize and a lot of people are going to be excited to see how they do are Rod Woodson. Yes, that Rod Woodson, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, and also the man himself, Mr. Pittsburgh Steeler, Hines Ward, will also be a head coach in the XFL. These are some big hires. These are some absolutely stupendous, you could say, hires for the XFL. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, if you take these hires and compare them to the USFL's hires, like the XFL's hires are much better as far from a coaching standpoint, from a name recognition standpoint, from a potential standpoint, as far as their ability to be coaches outside of just this XFL league. They got some ballers here. First of all, you have a guy in Wade Phillips who's coached in the NFL for decades. Wade Phillips is, as far as defenses go, you don't get much better than Wade Phillips as far as a defensive coordinator. This dude was the Dallas Cowboys head coach for nearly 10 years, and he had some success. Look, he was way more successful than Jason Garrett was as the Cowboys head coach. We can all agree on that. So I mean, look, he's like that's a guy who's had success, who's gotten teams to the playoffs, who's gotten developed players, and I think he's in a good spot there. Then you go to Bob Stoops, who look, Bob Stoops was a guy who was around for the original, or not the original, he was around for the 2020 version of the XFL in I believe, a similar role. He was either a coach or an executive. I do know he was with the league in some respect, but you take that away. I mean, Bob Stoops, this guy was just an absolute maniac when it comes to just Oklahoma football. I mean, he was so good, in fact, that after Lincoln Riley left, Bob Stoops came back and coached again in the Alamo Bowl, and coached him to a dub in the Alamo Bowl in his final coup de grace as the Oklahoma Sooners head coach. He was that good. He was that good. He was that well respected. I mean, the dude is just, what can you say? What can you say? I mean, he is the winning. I believe he's the winningest coach in Oklahoma Sooners football. The dude rarely had a season where he had less than 10 wins. I mean, he's gonna be great in this role, especially when you talk about Bob Stoops molding young players, especially young offensive players, doesn't get much better than that. I think it was important for the XFL to establish that they were serious. It was important for them to establish that they weren't just going to be a sideshow of a sideshow. Because the original XFL in 2001, the entire intention was to be a sideshow. It wasn't for serious football. Maybe some people wanted that to be the case, but that's not what it was. This shows me that they are 100% serious about not only developing players, coaching players, but also running these teams to win and running these franchises to win. They want to put people in places where they actually want to run successful teams, and doesn't get much better, honestly, as far as these coaches. I know the USFL, they hired some good guys too. I mean, look, Kevin Sumlin, not a bad coach in any respect. He's a really good coach. You also got Jeff Fisher, who, say what you want, I have criticisms of Jeff Fisher as well, but Jeff Fisher was a coach in the NFL with the same team for nearly 2 decades. That definitely counts for something. But this is a huge get for them, for the XFL. Does it help that the XFL already has not necessarily a partnership? I think that's the wrong way to phrase it, but they do have a working relationship to develop rules, to test rules, I should say, to test scenarios and other things for the NFL. And potentially, I think they will be a feeder league to the NFL, and that could lead to success for the XFL in the long run. But big day. We don't know what the teams are. We don't know what the cities are. We don't know any of that. That's going to be announced over the next few months, you would think. All I really hope is that we get the return of my DC Defenders. Throw up the X. Dwayne, you know what to do if you smell what I'm cooking. Guys, let me know what you're cooking in the comment section below. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.